All right. I've been hearing y'all. I know you want the story time, so let me give you a motherfucking story time. This has to be one of, hands down, the craziest things that's ever happened to me in my life, period. Definitely working with dogs in my life, period, though. I will never forget this one. This one is going to go down in history as one of the craziest experiences I've ever had working in the dog industry. So, get your old mimosas or your Buck Fizz ready, and let's get into this damn story time. Buck Fizz is a UK mimosa. Steph tells me these things. She's my UK friend. Anyway, I'm in on the UK things, okay? I know about y'all's digestives over there. I know about UK people. I know. Anyway. All right, so let's get this shit started. Good God. All right, where do we even begin? Okay, I promised y'all in the Crazy Boss story times, the old top tier boss, that I would have a ton of story times about her. I wasn't lying to you. I got about 1 million. And they're all probably the craziest stories you've ever heard in a fucking grooming shop, period. You know, working in corporate daycare, I saw some crazy shit. I really did. But nothing even comes slightly close to the stuff that I saw in this daycare. So just a little backstory in case you've never heard me talk about this daycare before. It was owned by 4 people that were dog owners. They didn't know shit about dogs. In fact, they weren't good dog owners. Like, it wasn't like these like huge dog owner lover people wanted to open a business. It was literally, okay, so here's how it happened, because this is going to be important anyway. One of the owners, he's a doctor. He is highly involved in our city. And there's like a private group that funds certain things in our city of Anderson. And basically they decided they wanted a dog park. So they built the dog park. There was a building right next to the dog park that was available. The doctor said to me himself, these are words from his mouth, that he, quote, did not want something like a tattoo shop or something. He said this to me on my job interview. I was like, well, and I was like all bundled up. It was winter. I was like, well, if you don't like tattoos, I got a real surprise for him. So anyway, like I said, he said he didn't want a tattoo shop or whatever to go in this location. So they decided to buy the building and make it into a doggy daycare / grooming facility. They wanted to do boarding too, but they were not zoned properly. So that was the goal, was that they were going to basically open this business so that nobody would take that spot and interfere with their dog park idea, right? So these 4 numbskulls get together. They're like, let's open a fucking dog business. Never known shit about dogs a day in our life. All 4 of them. Okay, so it's 2 couples, right? I don't know if we should name them. We're just going to call one the doctor, and then one will be crazy lady. What should we call her? Because she's the main one that we have a lot of instances with, and she's going to be the reoccurring topic. The doctor very rarely ever came up to the facility, so this is really his top craziest story. He just ends up taking the cake on the craziest thing that I've ever had to witness in daycare. So congratulations, doctor, you've really outdone yourself. So anyway, like I said, they opened this daycare. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, okay? And the way they built it was like, literally they just reached out to their friends that had dogs, and they were like, hey, like, come bring your dog for daycare and whatever. We have this daycare now. So basically they had no understanding of, like, they literally lived, I always said that they lived in Rainbow Unicorn Land where every dog got along. They literally didn't understand that some dogs don't get along, that some dogs have no business being in daycare, being around other dogs. They didn't know how to tell whether a dog was aggressive. Hell, they didn't even have doors separating the fucking rooms, you guys. It was just open. Whenever I got there, there were half doors, but whenever they first opened, there wasn't even a single fucking door. They're just like, yeah, just throw them all in there together, big, small, whatever. That was like, literally when I started there, that was a huge pet peeve of mine, is that they would have Great Danes with tiny Chihuahuas. And it's like, the problem with that is if there's a disagreement, somebody's gonna be dead. Okay, do you want a dog to die at your daycare? Why the fuck? There was about 1.5 million problems, as you're about to see, okay? So, let's just talk, like, so that's honestly, like, that's kind of a good, like, insight as to why there were so many fights that were so awful at this daycare, because there were no doors to separate the dogs with. There were no kennels to put the dogs in. They had, like, built these kennels out of wood. Like, they were a fucking disaster. Like, how cheap can you be to not even, like, be able to invest the money to buy a fucking dog kennel. You're gonna build one out of old wood that they used from a shed, mind you. Like, recycled wood is what they used to build. Listen, I was just really desperate for a job at this point. I was going through it. I just needed a job. I needed to get my feet off the ground, okay? I was having a hard time. That's why if you're like, bitch, why would you even take this job? Honey, I was desperate. I was desperate. I needed the money. They were hiring. They offered me a job, sweetheart. That's what happened, okay? So anyway, it's an average day. You know, it was afternoon time. I don't remember if I was off all morning, if I had left for a break or what. But anyway, so I get to work. I'm knocking on the door. They always kept the door locked because we were in the ghetto. So like, and they like literally would leave teenage girls there by themselves to work in the ghetto. Anyway, so they kept the doors locked. And I'm knocking on the door and I'm not hearing anybody coming. Like, I'm not hearing the dogs react to the doorbell, which is, you know, you guys have dogs. Like, imagine a dog not reacting to a doorbell. Like, where the fuck are the dogs at, right? But I could kind of in the distance hear screaming. And I'm like, and like literally as I was about to go around into the back and like walk through the fence to go in, they came to the door. It was Crazy Lady Boss and my coworker. I don't know if she wants to be named, so I'm not going to name her, but my coworker, she's the fucking mom. She's one of my friends still to this day. It was just them two up there, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just those two. So they come to the door and they're like, oh my God, like we just had this like crazy fight outside. Basically Crazy Lady Boss, dumbass, dumber than fucking hell, was outside playing in the hose. There was a border collie named Ellie that was playing in the hose water. And basically if you ever are in a daycare environment, I'm just gonna explain this to people that don't know about dogs. So if you're in a daycare environment and there's one dog that's like, all over the place, there a lot of times will be that one dog that comes in and is like, calm the fuck down, motherfucker. I don't got time for you. Calm the fuck down. So that's essentially what happened, was that my dumbass boss was amping up this border collie in the water. She's getting all excited. She's jumping all over. She's playing. There ends up being a fight over the hose. Now, basically what happened is at least three dogs. Yeah, there was a German Shepherd, the other one's sister. Like, that's the thing. And this dog, by the way, the border collie belonged to one of the owners. That's important, okay? She belonged to the doctor, okay? It's coming in. So like I said, they all jump on top of this border collie because she's the excitable one. And they attack her, and that's why they didn't come to let me in, because they were all trying to get them separated. So I come in and I'm like, is everybody okay? And they're like, I don't know. Because since they were playing in water, they were just all coated in mud, you guys. I mean, top to bottom. So I'm like, I am there to groom a dog. So I'm like, okay. I was like, well, here's the plan, because nobody up there knew what the fuck to do. Like, my boss had no game plan for anything. So anytime some shit like this went down, she's like, Janine, help me. So I'm the only one that's worked daycare. So I come in, I'm like, here's the game plan, okay? I'm going to come in, I'm going to bathe my groom dog, okay? And I'm going to take her and I'm going to start drying her. When I take her to start drying her, you're going to start grabbing these dirty ass dogs that just got in this fight, and you're going to start cleaning them off in the bathtub. Once they're clean, you're going to give them to me. I'm going to blow dry them. I'm going to check for wounds, okay? Because I couldn't check for shit when they're covered in mud, right? Because I can't see. Okay, so I'm like, you're going to go, you're going to clean the fucking dogs, you'll give them to me, I'll check them for wounds. So I check, you know, dog one, he's good. German Shepherd dog, she did not belong to one of the owners. She was a client's dog. She had some injuries on her face. Okay, they were minuscule, probably didn't need to be seen by a vet, but if it were me, like if I had a dog that even left with a tiny scratch on its nose, I would offer to pay a vet bill. Like, if it were my fault. I'm sorry, that's just me. You do whatever you want to do, but I think cover your ass. Because in my experience, if you have something that minuscule and you're like, hey, like if you want to take him to the vet, I'll pay for it. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna take him to the vet for that. And it just makes you look good. You know what I'm saying? It makes you look like you care. Anyway, we'll get to that. So, like I said, German Shepherd has a few superficial wounds on her face. The other dog, the border collie's sister, had a few superficial wounds. Didn't matter because she also belongs to the doctor. And then that would have been everybody, right? There was a golden retriever, German Shepherd, and then the sister. Yeah, so those three, like I said, 2 with superficial wounds, 1's fine, unscathed. and then they bring in the border collie, and she's limping, you guys. It's obvious she's hurt. And I'm like trying to kind of like move her and like see, she like comes in and immediately lays on the bed, and she would not get up. And I'm like, from that assessment, I'm like, I think she needs to go to the vet because we can't see anything physically wrong, but she's clearly hurt, right? So I'm like, okay, this could potentially be dangerous. If she is injured and you start looking for a wound, she could snap and bite one of us. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and my boss, crazy lady, she's scared. The doctor's not her husband, right? That's the other couple, right? There's the doctor and his wife, crazy lady and her husband, right? We're the two couples. So she doesn't want to tell doctor because doctor's going to get mad. And because doctor doesn't like, ironically, doctor won't take his dogs to the vet. He said his dogs get too stressed out, so he just won't take them to the vet, right? That's about to come into. So, my boss and my coworker, crazy lady and my coworker, get the dog in the tub. They're trying to bathe her, and she's turning and snapping, you guys, like going for blood. And this dog, it was actually extremely sweet. She was like one of the only owner dogs that I actually liked. There were 4 owner dogs, and out of those 4 dogs, I liked one of them. The other 3 were pretty fucking psycho. One of them grew on me, but, yeah, they were all super aggressive and had no business coming to a daycare. Obviously, since, like, it was at least 2 owner dogs and, like, 1 owner friend's dog, but that was involved in this 4-dog battle that, like, they all just jumped this 1 dog, right? So, like I said, there's the dogs snapping at them in the tub. I'm like, okay, be careful, whatever. I was like, just do your best. I was like, but, you know, I'm gonna have to try to take a look at her when we get her out. So, they got her bathed, get her out of the tub, and as I'm getting her on my table, the doctor comes in. He's like, is everybody good? Because my crazy lady boss had already called him and said, hey, your border collie's really hurt. So he's like, hey, like, he's like, Janine, like, will you just do a check and, you know, just see if there's anything bad on her, basically. So I'm like, okay. So I start blow drying her on that back leg that she's favoring. I see a pretty deep puncture wound, one that I'm like, yeah, that's gonna need a stitch or 2. So, I go get him. I'm like, hey, yeah, I was like, she's got a good size. I mean, full tooth. Like I said, it could at least use 2-3 stitches. I was like, yeah. I was like, I think she needs to see a vet for this. And he's like, he's a human doctor. So he's like, nah, it'll heal. It's fine. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, that's fine. So I continue to blow dry her. I go a couple inches up from where that injury was, and there was a hole like this in her fucking leg, you guys. I could see fucking muscle. I could see muscle, you guys. I am not good with blood and gore and whatever. It was so deep it wasn't even bleeding. I've never seen anything like it. I could literally see the muscle. Like, that image in my brain is gonna be there until the day I fucking die. Swear to God. Like, I literally will never forget this fucking hole in her leg. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I was like, I'm like, doctor, you need to come look at your fucking dog, bro. I'm like, code red, get her to the vet now. And he's like, oh no. He's like, I can't take her to the vet. She just does like terrible at the vet. She's gonna get all upset. Like, there's just no way. Because basically his 2 dogs had gotten into it really, really bad before I started working there. And the one almost killed this border collie. And she had to go to the vet from that. So anyway, that was his whole excuse. No. She gets way too stressed at the vet. She's going to be way better off if he just does this. If he does this. So he's like, no worries. I'm going to go get supplies. I'll be back. So no shit. He goes and buys all this stuff to do stitches. He bought like the numbing whatever to put on it. He brought the stitching stuff, like gauze, the whole 9, like what you would use to do stitches, and laid it out on my grooming table and had me help him stitch his fucking dog closed. He had one, like my coworker, poor thing, like this young ass girl, he has her holding the head, and I looked at her like while he was like not there. I was like, if that dog looks at you like you think she might bite you, I was like, don't. Like, basically let her tag her dad, her owner. Like, that's like, do not take a bite for this guy. Like, I was like, we have no business stitching up a dog This is not, you'd think a doctor of all people would be the most aware that this is not a sterile environment. On my grooming table? Are you serious? There's customers coming in to pick up their fucking dogs and we're stitching his dog up on my goddamn grooming table. And not to mention, and I know I was dating a piece of shit at the time, but it was our fucking anniversary. It was like our 5-year anniversary. And I'm at my job stitching up my boss's dog on my fucking grooming table. So he did. He stitched her up. He stitched that big hole up. He stitched the other one that needed stitching. And I was right. She did need, like, I think he put 2 stitches on that little one. And then he stitched up the big one. Put her in a cone and he called it a fucking day. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Imagine. Like, this whole scenario. Like, I mean, and then he tipped me $20. He's like, here's $20 for your trouble. Imagine, like, I'm a business owner right now, and if something happened to, like, my dogs, and I'm in the process of hiring somebody, in fact, I already have hired somebody, there's no way, if something happened to one of my dogs, that I would make her fucking help me stitch my dogs up on my own fucking table. Like, talk about unprofessional. Like I said, customers are coming to pick up their dogs. It's the end of the fucking day. Oh, and then the icing on the cake is as we're stitching him up, the German Shepherd's mom comes with the superficial wounds, and I said, my crazy lady boss came back, was like, hey, like, what do we tell this dog's mom? And I just quick jumped in because, like I said, I was the one that handled all this stuff a lot of times. So I was like, well, I would tell her the wounds are superficial, but tell her where they are and give her the option of, like, if she wants to take her to the vet, you know, whatever. And the doctor immediately jumps in. He's like, no. Don't tell her to take her to the vet. She's fine. She doesn't need to go to the vet. I'm like, are you trying to get sued? Like, are you really trying to get sued? Like, is that your goal here? Because you're doing a great job. Like, you never tell somebody to not go to the vet. I mean, like, literally, you're sitting here yelling from the back, no, don't tell her to go to the vet. In front of the customer? Are you insane? Like, she absolutely needs to take the dog to the vet if she thinks she needs to. Because guess what? If she doesn't, and God forbid the face got infected, like, that could fucking be, like, business ending for your stupid business that you don't give a shit about. Like, how? I just am never going to comprehend it. Like, why would you think it's a good idea to stitch your dog up on my fucking table and make me and, like, an 18-year-old girl hold your dog, first of all, and then you're going to tell another dog's owner, like, don't take it to the vet. Not only, like, to not mention it, which I think is wrong. I think that you should say, like, if there's an injury that happens in your care, I think you should, off the bat, offer to pay the vet bill. That's what I would do. I don't care what it was. If it was something small, it doesn't matter. It could even be something that was debatable if it was me. And I would just pay it because I think that's the right thing to do. And there was a groomer, I'm trying to remember, I think it was at one of the trade shows that she talked about that's her practice, that if somebody calls and they're like, there's irritation or whatever, that she just goes ahead and offers to comp the vet bill. And like I said earlier, half the time, good owners, especially if it's something small, they're probably not even going to take them to the vet. It's just like something that makes you look like you really care. You know what I mean? And you should really care. If you think for 1 second that it's a possibility that a dog got hurt in your care, then you should absolutely offer to cover the vet bill, especially if you did something stupid like decided to play with a hose in a group of dogs and started a dog fight, then absolutely you should offer to pay the vet bills. Like, the fact that you would even think that that wasn't something that you should pay for is absolutely unbelievable to me. But frankly, they did crazier things. Like, there was one time that same German Shepherd ended up, like, actually causing, like, a true injury to another dog that did end up in a vet bill, and the owners decided that it was the German Shepherd owner's responsibility to pay this vet bill. Really? Yep. And they used to let that same dog come while she was in heat. I mean, there was just literally no regard. It was, like, literally, like, they were trying to cause a dog fight. That's the only thing I can come up with. That's what it seemed like to me. Is like, it's like, I mean, y'all might as well start placing bets. You got no doors up. You got all these dogs. Like, half of them were so aggressive that any other daycare in the world would never allow them through their doors. And they had them all in there together. Like I said, it's like, just, I mean, you might as well start placing bets. Like, are you fucking insane? Why would you ever have dogs that are aggressive at a doggy daycare. Like, if they can't get along with other dogs, what are they doing at daycare? Like, I've worked daycare. I know sometimes, like, two dogs just, they'll be great with other dogs, but those two just won't get along for whatever reason. That happens, whatever. But if it's like the dog that bit me, that still goes there to this day, he's aggressive to any dog he sees. He literally almost killed a toy poodle after I left, and he still goes there. It's like, I literally just think like they're just doing it for the fun at this point, to just, it's like maybe they have bets placed on the business themselves. They're like, how, you know, I think it's going to make it another year before we get a lawsuit. You know what I mean? Like, are you guys actually insane? Like, the stuff that I saw go on up there was just absolutely unbelievable. So anyway, that was probably, I would say that definitely had to be the craziest thing that happened to me while I was up there, was that, the owner of the business made me help him stitch his dog up on my table. And I was a 1099 employee. So I didn't even really get paid for that. I got $20 to play vet tech. I'm not a vet tech, by the way. I worked doggy daycare, where I was taught to assess for wounds. Like, at corporate daycare, we were taught how to just check a dog over and make sure they weren't hurt. And if there is an injury like that at corporate daycare, we would have called the owner, asked them whether they wanted, like, we would have offered to take the dog to the vet unless the owner wanted to come get the dog. That would be their option. But if they were at work or whatever, then we would have offered to either take the dog to our personal vet or the owner's vet. You know, that's what a professional corporate daycare would do, is they would automatically comp the vet bill. They would take the dog to be treated. Like, we would not be treating wounds in the back. I mean, there's one thing, like, you know, if it was like a little, like I said, superficial wound, then yeah, we'd clean it up and we'd call the parents and say, here's what happened. You know, this is what the injury looks like. It's not severe, but if you'd like to come get your dog, blah, 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 blah. You know, we work with dogs. Dog fights will happen inevitably. If you have enough dogs together, it's gonna happen. But there's ways to be prepared, and this business was just not prepared for any of them. So that is how they ended up with a lot of injuries. And from what I've heard, it's not gotten better. Like I said, after I left, that same dog that he started that fight, he attacked that dog. He was one of the dogs involved when my old boss broke her ankle. He was involved when she fractured both her hands in a dog fight. I have literally so many dog fight stories just from that one shop. It's absolutely insane. And that's what happens when you just fucking let them all do their thing. Like, you're just like, fuck it. Like, let's just put them all together and see what happens. Like I said, I was like, are you guys trying to start like a dog fighting rink? Like, what are you doing? Right next to this dog park, that's a public dog park. You know how many times there were like terrible dog fights that like the people at the dog park saw happen? Like, many, many times that happened. Like, it was just insane. So yeah, it was very hard working there, because as I'm trying to build our reputation as like a good thing, they were literally doing stuff like that and like destroying it as I'm building it. So what a fucking job, you guys, though. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the story. It was very traumatic for me at the time. It's like still like, honestly, I still feel some trauma associated with it. I remember I started getting woozy because I really don't do good with blood and stuff. And when I remember at one point he was like cleaning the wound and the skin was moving around and I could see them. Listen, I came here to groom dogs. I didn't think we were doing stitches. Okay. That was a first for me. So y'all, if you do the praying thing, pray for them. They need it. God bless. Good God, I don't know how they've kept their doors open. I don't know how they haven't had a scandal. I'm waiting until the day I see them on the news, swear to God. But yeah, that's the story of how my one boss caused a giant dog fight, and then the other boss stitched up his dog on my grooming table. I don't even know what to call this video. That's going to be interesting. It's got to be something catching that kind of gets the point across. What do you even call it? I don't know. I just can't believe, they're literally, anyway, I think you get it at this point. I beat it into the ground that the place was insane. Insane that they're still open. Insane that they haven't ended up with a lawsuit or a dead dog on their hands. Absolutely insane. So, groomers, do your research on the shops that you're applying at. You know, maybe you know, dig around, like see, like, are they keeping a groomer? Are they having a high turnover rate on groomers? Are they having a high turnover rate on employees? You know, what are they doing? Do they have experience in the field? Like I said, these people pretty much from the beginning made it pretty obvious that they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, but I just took the job because it was convenient, I needed it, whatever. So look for red flags. If you're a dog owner, definitely, I would stick to corporate daycares personally. If you're gonna do a private daycare, really go in there, ask to see that building, make sure they don't have big dogs mixed with small dogs, and ask what their policy is if they have an aggressive dog. How do they go through kicking it out? Because corporate daycare, we had a 3-step rule, and sometimes I saw dogs cause like one like really bad fight and get kicked out first fight. Like if they bit a human or they caused a fight, like there was like one pit bull, for example. I hate that it was a pit bull, but sometimes this does happen. If you work with dogs, you know. His pit bull just snapped one day, you guys, at the corporate daycare, and she latched out on this dog and like would not let go, and it was so bad. And they ended up kicking her out after that fight because they just could not risk that would happen to another dog. Because typically we were able to break up dog fights really easy at this daycare. We had these like not high power, not like a fire hose about to blast them across the world, but the hose power was pressurized enough that it stopped pretty much every dog fight. I never saw in my time being there the hose not break up a dog fight. And that pit bull, I wasn't working there at the time. That was like, I had taken a break from that place, and while I was on break, that happened. And like I said they tried the hose, they tried everything to get that dog off, and she just would not let go. So they let her go first offense. But typically it was a 3 strikes you're out rule. Like I said, if you're a dog owner, make sure that they are kicking out the bad dogs. Like I said, ask what their policies are. Look at the dogs. Honestly, like this place was such a dead giveaway that the dogs were so aggressive. Like you'd come in to the daycare and the dogs would come up and like slam the gate and be like, rah, rah, rah. It was so obvious they were aggressive. So just use your common sense, ask questions, and you're gonna be just fine. So anyway, I think I blabbed at you long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. It was a traumatic one. That poor fucking dog. I'm so glad she's okay. Like obviously she's fine. She walked just fine after that, but it was just like still, I'm never gonna forget stitching her up on my table. That one I'll remember till the day I die. So thank you, doctor, for that experience. Not one I ever needed in my life nor wanted, but you know, sometimes life throws us curveballs. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Cheers. See you in the next one. Bye.